After you know your abilities to produce a good, the next step is to understand what it will cost you to produce. The cost function of a typical firm looks like this in this graph, meaning that marginal productivity level of labor, equipment, or other things are the same for each level of product produced. It lets the marginal cost of a listed production inputs to increase constantly, and it is, I think, too ideal to have similar productivity of each labor added or technology used. And do you remember, we told about diminishing marginal productivity of inputs. More businesses nowadays face such an issue like not constant but high marginal cost of inputs used in production, because additional labor or capital provides less and less product and makes product costs expensive to produce. In this case, the graph of cost function looks another way. For instance, a firm's technology can bring to diminishing marginal product of labor, and the cost function increase at the increasing rate of hiring workers. When you analyze your cost level of production, you have to consider two important things. The first one is that the cost of inputs, and the second is productivity of inputs. Think logically. If wage of labor or cost of capital increases, then of course your marginal cost will be high. But if each production factor works effectively, increasing the volume of output, then producing each unit of product will be cheap and beneficial for you. As you see, these two determinants are closely related with each other, and they identify what will be your product cost. And the formula of this is the marginal cost equals the cost of production factor, which is your wage, rent, capital cost, and divided by the marginal product of labor or the capital. Okay, let's go back to our steps on how to produce a good. We'll start from identifying the way of production, and you know that firm has many ways of producing the same volume of output, and these firms choose between the use of simple and cheap one, but which is wasteful in production, or more expensive, which with possibility to recycle them. Imagine the example of printing house. If a printing house needs to execute the order of several big clients, it could employ 10 people and equip each with printing equipment. And the second variant is to hire a single person and one multifunctional printing machine. And the first option is called labor-intensive. It means you need more labor than capital. And the second one is capital-intensive. Here you need more capital rather than labor. If we talk about how it occurs in real life, medium and large business, these companies mostly use the information received from operations area. They take operational decisions like ways of producing goods from technical side or choosing the cost-efficient methods of producing from economic side. People who perform such jobs are technical or the engineering specialists. For example, in low-wage countries like China or Vietnam, firms use labor-intensive method of production because it is more cheap them to use more labor instead of machinery. What about rich countries like USA, for example? Labor is expensive there, and they use more machines rather than people. And the second step of how to produce output that managers make is a price output decision. In this step, the marginal cost is important because managers select the point on a demand curve where marginal cost equals the marginal revenue. And you'll ask why. As we told earlier, the maximum profit could be obtained when the firm reached equal marginal revenue and marginal cost. But price is determined by the demand curve. Managers first choose price, then sell output demanded at the price, or choose volume of product and sell at price the market is ready to pay. And in these both cases, the point will be found on demand curve. If we gather all the graphs of marginal revenue, marginal cost, and demand curve, we'll have such a picture like this. As you see, we are crossing marginal revenue and marginal cost and finding their point on the demand curve. And this point gives optimal price and optimal quantity. Only after the firm's managers know how much to produce, the price of good and the cost of production, profits, they can receive it's time to make decision of existing or not as a business. This issue is for both who are already in business and those who are just starting. And firms also concerned about it on parts of their operations. For example, when they decide whether to shut down an existing plant or open a new thing. And if a firm that is already in business realizes that its profits are too small to cover its cost, then it should exit the market. If a startupper is estimating profits that is enough to setting up operations, then we can say that the firm enters into the market. Imagine you have your own small clothes store where you can sell only blue jeans. Then some fashion store open in your area and your clients have another place to get these clothes. You'll decide whether to stay in your business or stop activity and just sell remaining assets. Then you will start to analyze your different costs like variable, fixed, and total. And these costs are the same all the time, even if you never produce and which doesn't change with output change, we can call fixed costs. And those which vary with production units called variable costs. And total costs are the sum of these variable and fixed costs. Suppose your firm's fixed costs are $14,000 per 1 month. It could be your costs like rent, utility bills, and the wage of sales consultant, and so on. If your variable cost or cost of producing each unit of output is $10, then your cost equation is like that. Total cost equals to 14,000 plus 10 multiplied by the quantity. And variable cost could be the costs like pairs of jeans from wholesaler, packaging paper for the check, and etc. And look at this graph. Here you can see that if output increases by 1 unit, variable costs increase by 10%. As for fixed costs, it is constant all the time, even if produce zero output. Okay, now we're ready to take decision to continue our activity or not. The first one, what we need is to compare our revenue, costs, and profit size as in this table. Our total revenue is quantity of output multiplied by the price of blue jeans. Profit is different between total revenue and total cost, and the total cost is given, which is a sum of variable cost and fixed cost. Looking at the last column of profit, you can see that maximum 6,000 is a profit that you'll get selling 2,000 pairs of blue jeans at the price of $20. And 40,000 revenue is enough to cover all costs and get extra profit. We suppose that after your competitor entered into your area, your customer started to purchase clothes from your competitor. Then your demand looks like in this table. Because of low demand, you should drop your price till $18. At this price, you have maximum profit of $1,200 among the all possible. At this level, you are not able to cover your fixed costs, and your profit is with minus sign. Should you remain in this business? If you ask this question after you have paid all your fixed costs, then you can stay in business, as your revenue is covering variable costs. And if your fixed costs are not paid yet, then you should exit the market. Detailed conditions to exit or stay in business we'll discuss in the next sessions. For now, let's sum up what we learned. While estimating costs, part of any business, it is necessary to consider two main critical things, like cost of inputs and productivity of these inputs. Then you have to identify which one, labor or capital-intensive method, is suitable for you. Also, it is important to find optimal price and the quantity at which your marginal revenue equals to marginal cost. And then next, you need to compare all your profit, cost, revenue at your chosen price. And you'll see, is it enough to cover all business costs to stay or exit the market?